Mr. Nash, could you please briefly describe who you are, a little bit about your background, and what you do in life?
My name is Phil Tajitsu Nash. I was born in New York City and raised in New Jersey. I currently live in the Washington, D.C. area. I went to school in New York and New Jersey, and I was trained as a lawyer. But what happened was I realized that a degree just starts you on the road to knowledge. It doesn't end your learning.
Mm-hmm.
So I've continued on to have careers in journalism, in software engineering, and anthropology, and working with other fields aside from the initial one that I studied. I've been a teacher for 30 years, and I have also done a number of things in the civil rights field with my law degree.
So, with your prolific background, what are you most proud of in your life?
I think the best thing that I worked on was the Japanese American redress movement, and that's because my mom and her family were put in the Japanese American camps during World War II. So while I was in law school, I got together with Nick Chan and a number of other people, and we formed several groups, a law student group, eventually a Asian American lawyers group, and we worked very closely with a number of community groups who were doing Japanese American redress. We worked at the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, and through all this work I got a chance to participate on redress as a lawyer, as a community organizer, as a journalist, and ultimately the biggest reward I ever got was when my grandmother, who had told me about this originally, she was watching a TV show saying that the Japanese American redress movement was doing very well and probably was going to succeed, and she reached under the table and squeezed my hand. And I'll still always remember that, because in a way that was the most significant thank you I ever got from somebody. So I think that is the biggest accomplishment I've had in life. I think that everyone has to have a purpose in life. I think it's important to feed yourself, to house yourself, clothe yourself, have a family, and take care of the people around you, and to be good to the people in your community. But ultimately you have to ask yourself, why am I here? What am I doing? And so ultimately it's important to think about how you want yourself to be remembered. I used to do an exercise with some of my students. I said, let's write your obituary now. People say, I'm only 20 years old. What are you doing? And I said, well, you don't want to be 50 years from now saying, gee, I coulda, shoulda, woulda done something. Mm-hmm. Let's write it right now. So we looked at a number of the obituaries, and they all said, so-and-so was born here, of these parents, went to this school, did this job, maybe involved in church or community group, and then sometimes it would list a few things that they felt were important contributions for their own life. And so I said, you can't decide exactly what's going to be the most important thing, but speculate for yourself. What would you like written about yourself 50 years from now? And ultimately, I think the students really appreciated that, because it got them thinking, hey, I need to get some more credentials, maybe I need to move to a different place, maybe I need to talk to my parents, talk to my family. I think it's very, very important for a young person to think that far ahead. And obviously there are twists and turns in everyone's life. You never know what's going to happen. But if you don't plan something, you will never fulfill that plan. I'm very optimistic because I've had teachers who had been through previous eras. I mean, one of my teachers in law school, his name was Arthur Kanoy. He was a civil rights lawyer in the 1950s. In fact, he was involved in stopping the House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC, which he was one of the people who defended people who were brought before HUAC, and he himself was dragged out of the HUAC hearings. And he said to me and to others, you know, no matter how bad things are, you just have to remember that, you know, people have been through bad things before and they've come out of it, and you've got to make the best of it. And his advice to me and to others was, respect yourself, respect the rule of law, respect the rule of decency, and he himself was defending the Constitution at a time when some of these right-wing people were undermining the Constitution. So when I say respect law, it doesn't mean laws that discriminate against people, but respect the notion of fairness, respect the notion of human dignity, and make sure that the law is moving in that direction at all times. Every single day I get up and I think to myself, how can I make the best of this day? How can I help to improve the situation for myself and the people I love? And there are days you make great progress and days you don't, but you have to have a sense of humor about it and realize that in the long run things are going to get better, and that's what motivates me.